Right, let's do this. I've got a good feeling.
2, 1, go!
Come on. So the MG4, it was launched last year and has had a huge amount of love from pretty much everyone really, because it effectively democratized good electric cars. Yes, there were relatively affordable EVs before, but they were either very small in size or had very small ranges. The MG4 is a practical family hatchback, and it can officially at least do up to 281 miles on a charge. It's quick enough for most buyers as well, but quick enough doesn't really apply in the world of hot hatches, and that is effectively what the new MG4 XPower is. In fact, that might be doing it a slight disservice, because some of the vital stats on this car are more what you'd expect to find from a proper performance car. Here's what's different about the XPower compared with the regular MG4. So the entry-level MG4 has a single 168 brake horsepower motor driving the rear wheels. In the XPower, that's been boosted to 228 brake horsepower, but there's more, because a second electric motor has been added on the front axle. That has 201 bhp, so altogether this car has a ridiculous 429 brake horsepower and 443 pound-foot of torque. That's more than an Audi RS3, and of course it has four-wheel drive to help transfer all of that to the road. To further improve traction, the standard tyres have been swapped for this stickier Bridgestone Turanza rubber, and the XPower has unique Cyclone 18-inch alloys as well. Other things that mark out the XPower visually include polished black bumper and side skirt trim with silver highlights and a black roof. It has pretty much the same battery as the MG4 long range, but because it's heavier and because of those stickier tyres, it isn't as efficient and it can't go as far on a full charge. It has an official range of 239 miles. To help rein in all that extra performance, there are uprated 345mm ventilated discs on all four corners. The calipers have also been uprated and they've been painted orange. The XPower has had what MG describes as a comprehensive series of suspension upgrades. Overall suspension stiffness has apparently been increased by 25% thanks to retuned springs and dampers, and there are stiffer anti-roll bars as well. And the steering is supposed to be a bit sharper. Inside there are some changes too, although not very big ones. There's some Alcantara on the doors and on the seats, which also have red rather than blue stitching. The pedals have been swapped for alloy equivalents, and there's a dynamic driving management system which can give you lap time and G-force data. And all of that for just £36,495, an extra £800 if you want this matte racing green paint. Now MG claims this can do 0 to 62 in just 3.8 seconds, but can it really? Well, that's what we're about to find out, and because we're on a disused runway, we thought it'd be rude not to bring along a benchmark.
Hello there.
So Neil, why have we chosen the Audi e-tron GT? It seems a bit unfair because that car costs more than twice as much as this MG.
Well, we were actually planning on bringing along our favourite performance car, which is the Porsche Taycan 4S. And we did ask Porsche if we could have one, and they asked us, quite rightly, what we would be doing with it. And we answered honestly and said we'd be taking part in a drag race, to which they followed up with, what car will we be drag racing against? And we told them an MG4. And after all that back and forth, we were then finally told there wasn't a Taycan available. So make of that what you wish. But in reality, it doesn't actually matter, because the car we've got here today is essentially the same. The Audi e-tron GT has the same platform as the Taycan. It has the same 83.7 kilowatt hour battery, and it even has the same output, 523 brake horsepower from its twin electric motors. So that makes this quite a bit more powerful than your MG4. But I do need to caveat that with the fact you only get that maximum amount of power for 2.5 seconds, and that's when you're in launch control mode. After that, you have to make do with a measly 469 brake horsepower. And this car weighs quite a lot more than your MG4. It weighs well over 2 tons.
Do you think the MG stands any chance at all?
I mean, Audi say that this will do 0 to 62 miles an hour in 4.1 seconds, so your MG4 on paper is quite a bit quicker. But today we are drag racing them down 1/4 mile. So even if that gets to 60 miles an hour quicker than this, and that's a big if, I reckon by the end I can catch you and pass you.
Right, well I think that's enough pre-race chat. Should we get on with
Let's
this?
get on with it.
Right, let's do this. I've got a good feeling. The underdog is going to win this. Right, so setting up launch control is actually very easy. I just select track mode from the touchscreen here. Then I put my left foot on the brake as hard as I can, right foot down on the accelerator, watch the power build up, it holds at 66%, and then lift off the brake, and I should absolutely launch down this runway and smash the e-tron GT. Might be a bit optimistic, but let's find out.
Activating launch control in this car is pretty simple. You just go to Drive Select, select Dynamic Drive Mode, press the off button for the stability control for a couple of seconds. That's the ESC off. And then you just make sure you're in drive, press the brake pedal all the way to the floor, do the same with the accelerator, and you have a little graphic here that shows the boost building. And when that gets almost to the top, take your foot off the brake, and away you go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go!
I'm beating him.
Oh no, he got a better jump on me.
I can't actually believe this, but the end, oh, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back.
I'm catching him, but I mean, I was catching him at the end. He beat me rather convincingly there, but I think that was my bad reaction time. Bad reaction time from me.
No, it's nothing to do with that, it's to do with the speed.
But I was catching you towards the end.
I thought you might have it, but that was 3.6 to 60.
4.1.
Yeah, I mean, this is different league, isn't it? Right, best out of 3. You can do this. One more win, MG, and you have taken down an e-tron GT that costs more than twice as much money. Let's go.
Right, so that first run didn't go that well, but I think I have to admit I was a little bit delayed off the line. So I'm going to try and go on the B of the bang on this one, and hopefully by the end I'll have coursed him.
3, 2, 1, go!
Come on. Similar launch, I'm well ahead, He's coming back. Can I hold him off? Can I hold him off? Can I hold him off? Yes! It's done it! 2 out of 3. That was extremely close that time. That was closer. But
That was closer.
the MG is just better.
It just gets off the line a bit better.
It's just better. It's a better car.
It's not a better car.
It is.
It's not, okay, it might be quicker in a straight line,
It's a better
but
car.
in every other metric, this is better.
Money. That's better. It's £36,000.
Yeah, but
it
you know,
has.
the interior you get in this is worth it.
It does have a nicer interior.
And it
I'll
handles
give you that.
better, and it stops better.
It does. Right, so we are going to have one final race. The MG has already won this. We said best out of 3, and it's 1-2. So even if the Audi e-tron GT wins the next one, it's not enough. But for some reason, Neil thinks that this time, even though there's no skill involved really, all he's got to do is engage launch control, release the brake, and go as fast as the car can go. He thinks it's going to win. So I'm going to humour him, and we're going to prove that he's wrong.
Will doesn't seem keen about doing a third race, but I need to regain some dignity and have at least a decent go here. So let's see if I can get this off the line any better than I did on the first 2 runs.
And 3, 2, 1.
Yes, he's got him again.
No, he's got me again.
Look at the way it just takes off from the line. He is coming back again, he's coming back again, he's coming back again.
I just can't get off the line as quick as him. Come on.
And that is 3-0, 3-0,
No, he's got me.
3-0. No doubt, the MG is the champion. It is faster, not only to 60, than an e-tron GT, so basically a Porsche Taycan 4S, but on the quarter mile as well. That is absolutely astonishing. What did it do that time? 3.7, so it was actually slightly slower, and it's still won actually by a slightly bigger margin. So 3-0. So the MG won, but what happened in more detail? Well, both cars got off the line similarly well, and there was only a tenth in it to 10 miles an hour. But after that, the lighter MG started to pull out a healthy lead and hit 50 miles an hour half a second before the e-tron GT. The Audi, which unusually for an electric car has 2 gears rather than 1, started to come back strongly above 70 miles an hour and was actually first to hit 100. But that wasn't quite enough, because although the Audi was going 7 miles an hour faster when it crossed the finish line and was gaining rapidly, the MG got there a couple of tenths sooner in just 12.1 seconds. Okay, so we know it is ridiculously fast on a long straight piece of tarmac, but real roads have corners on them, of course. So how do all the suspension and chassis upgrades help with that? Well, even the standard MG4 is pretty good to drive, actually. Some people have got a little bit carried away with just how good. It's not as fun, it's not as composed as a Cupra Born, for example, which is one of its main rivals, but it's fairly agile, it handles quite well, particularly when you factor in the price. And to be honest, this XPower version feels like an MG4 with loads more power and some slightly stiffer suspension. It doesn't feel dramatically different to drive. And really, if you think about it, what do you expect? Petrol hot hatches that offer similar performance to this, like the Audi RS3 and the Mercedes A45 AMG, they are in a different league for handling. They're far more sophisticated machines, but they cost £60,000, £25,000 or £30,000 more than the entry-level models that they're based on. So this might have stiffer anti-roll bars than the regular MG4, but there is still quite a lot of body lean through corners. And the steering, MG says it's retuned it, but if it has done, the differences are marginal. I haven't got a regular car to drive the two back to back, but certainly the setups are very similar. And in a car with this much performance, I would prefer a slightly faster rack with a little bit more definition around the straight ahead, because inevitably if you use this car's performance, you approach corners with more speed. And the front end is a little bit vague, and that's a little bit disconcerting. Also, the management of power is not the most sophisticated in the world. And when you accelerate hard, particularly if the road has cambers on it, the steering wheel will sort of tug one way or another in your hands. And again, that isn't the most confidence-inspiring thing when you're driving this car quickly along a country road. And then we come onto the brakes. Now, as I said earlier, they have been upgraded compared with the standard MG4, but I would argue they're still not good enough for a car with this much performance. We've done a few hard brakes today during our drag race earlier and during general cornering as well. And very quickly the brakes overheat, you've got smoke billowing from the front pads, and really you would expect them to stand up a little bit better to hard use like that. For exactly the same price as the XPower, you can also now order an extended range version of the MG4, which, perhaps confusingly, has a longer range than the long range version. Anyway, it's nowhere near as quick as the XPower, but it does offer better acceleration than other MG4s, and it has a massive 77 kilowatt hour battery for an official range of 323 miles. That's almost a match for the Kia EV6, which will cost you at least 45k. So if you're thinking about buying an MG4 and you just fancy having some ridiculously fast straight line speed that very occasionally you can embarrass some supercars or just have some bragging rights, then it does make some sense. But if you're looking for a properly well sorted hot hatch that's fun, that's engaging, that's competent through corners, then really you'd be better off looking elsewhere. But for lots more information about all versions of the MG4, head over to our website whatcar.com, where you'll find our detailed written review. You can actually shortcut straight there by clicking the link at the top. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, we'd really appreciate it if you could give it a like, leave us a comment below and let us know what you think of the MG4 XPower. And for lots more car reviews, car news and drag races like this, of course, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.